Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:06. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here to this Wednesday version. 6:35, Cal Thomas. 7:05, Daniel Turner, Power of the Future on that Energy Summit in Pennsylvania. Nick Minock will join us at 8:05, WJLA. Latest on the fundraising going on in the Virginia 11 race. And then at 8:35, Chuck Thies, D.C. political analyst, will explain the voters of D.C. who just reelected Trayon White. Hey, listen, that's who they want representing them. That's who they want representing them. What can you do? I think he represents them perfectly. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka, a rare Wednesday performance here from Patrice. Good morning.
I know. Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Larry. Julie and I are playing musical chairs today, so she'll be there tomorrow, and then I'll be back on Friday. So don't worry.
Patrice is testifying tomorrow before Congress, so we're accommodating her busy schedule, certainly. Yes. All right. So
I appreciate that.
The Trump White House, it appears, would love for this Jeffrey Epstein story to go away. As far as we know, the official word from the White House, from the Justice Department, and from the FBI continues to be this case is closed. There was no client list. Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. This is over. Yes, he was guilty of horrific crimes. Yes, there are many young women now. Obviously, they're adults, but at the time they were children. They were horribly abused. They were trafficked for sexual purposes. But we do not have definitive evidence of any high-powered clients, per se, or other men other than Jeffrey Epstein who partook in the deviant sexual behavior. Yes, there are names that are listed in testimony and documents related to the case, but none of those names have been proven guilty of anything, and therefore it would be irresponsible. And, oh, by the way, there's a judge in New York, two judges in New York, who are blocking the release of these documents and these names because it is unfair to put unsubstantiated charges against people who have not been found guilty of a crime. And there's no suggestion that other than in these legal documents. That's their story. I'm not telling you that that's legit. I'm not telling you that I believe it. I'm just telling you that's the official line. That's the official line from the 47th President of the United States in his White House, from Pam Bondi's Justice Department, and from Kash Patel and Dan Bongino's Federal Bureau of Investigation. Obviously, that's not good enough for people who have been following this story. That's not good enough by a long shot. And part of the reason why it's not good enough, frankly, is because a lot of the people that I just mentioned spent many years telling people with very prominent platforms that they knew otherwise. Not that they'd heard otherwise, not that maybe otherwise, not that they suspect otherwise. No, that they knew for a fact. They told their audiences, there's something dirty here, and it's all corrupt, and it's all the deep state. Steve Bannon is out there now saying, release these files, where Steve Bannon actually worked with Jeffrey Epstein to help try to rehabilitate his image, apparently. There's a story out there, and he interviewed Jeffrey Epstein for like 10 hours for a documentary, apparently, and he was trying to help. This was after his first prosecution, and yet Steve Bannon's sitting on his own Epstein files that he's not releasing. He interviewed him. He sat in the same room with this guy, and now he's demanding that everything get released. So, and I'm not saying that Steve Bannon is guilty of anything. I'm not saying Kash or Dan or Pam or Trump or anybody. I'm saying this is why people are frustrated. This is why people see this story as absolutely maddening. And yesterday, Democrats now grandstanding, they're thumping their chest and they're saying, yeah, that's right, release all these files. Really, where the hell were they when Biden was president for 4 years, demanding the release of these files? They smell blood in the water, and they think that, it's not going to happen, so they can make hay about it to make it look like Republicans are hiding something. And, oh, by the way, maybe they are hiding something. I don't know. But what are we supposed to believe at this point? So let's cut to yesterday. Donald Trump, on his way to Pennsylvania, asked once again, and President Trump, get used to being asked this question, because until we get a better answer,
Or more transparency, one or the other.
This answer ain't a good answer. Cut 5.
Oh, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it. But she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release, yeah.
All right, now that last part is important because Trump is giving the green light. Whatever you think is credible, you should release. But leading up to it, he said, listen, these files that everybody wants released, these were written by Clinton and Obama, and it, just like the same people who wrote the Russian dossier, Russia. I don't know, Patrice. I'm sort of at a loss on this.
I mean, I think I am too, because I want to believe Pam Bondi. I want to believe Kash Patel. I want to believe Dan Bongino now saying, now having full view of what is actually what the FBI has and the DOJ have compiled, that there really is no there. But I don't have that confirmation because their own internal, issues where Dan Bongino almost didn't show up to work on Friday, I believe it was, and then came back, I guess, on Monday. What was it? I mean,
they had a blow up on Wednesday. They had a blow up on Wednesday. He didn't show up to work on Friday, and the story, which was repeated in conservative media outlets, almost verbatim, almost like they all got the same text message from somebody on Friday, said that Bongino had basically said either Pam Bondi is fired or I quit. Now, here's an update on that. Pam Bondi was giving a press conference yesterday answering questions about something else, and of course a question came up about the relationship with FBI leadership and specifically Bongino. Here's what she had to say.
Yes, sir.
Is there disruption at the leadership of DOJ and the FBI with your relationship with Dan Bongino that is affecting the operations?
No, I'm not going to talk about personnel matters. No, I was with Director Patel all morning, and we are committed to keeping America safe, making America safe, working with our incredible partners at DEA, FBI, ATF, U.S. Marshals to do everything we can to make America safe, and that's what we're focused on. And today, we're focused on protecting our kids. And I would ask all of you, when you leave, go look at that wall outside, right outside this room, of all the fentanyl deaths, all the faces of fentanyl that you...
All right, so there you go.
Nice way to pivot, but...
She refers to her conflict with Bongino as a personnel matter, which I found an interesting choice of words.
Interesting word choice.
And specifically said that she's working well with Director Patel. So obviously I think that there is still tension there. But let me just be clear. Based on everything that we know publicly, and obviously there could very well be things privately, but publicly it seems that the beef, the spat between Bongino and Bondi has to do with how this was handled in the media. And I think Bongino's right about that, by the way. There's a lot of problems with the way this was handled. But there's no suggestion that there's still some revealed truth that has not been exposed that Bongino or Patel is demanding, you release the truth. We're covering this up, and I can't stand for it. I think if Dan thought there was a cover-up, I don't think he'd be working today. But he is. As far as we know, he's back at work.
Yeah,
so this seems to be a dispute about the media handling of it. All right, so there's a little bit more because on Monday, I think it was, we played the audio, and on Friday of Alan Dershowitz. Yeah, on Sean Spicer's show, saying, there's a list. I'm one of the attorneys here. I defended myself because Alan Dershowitz, as far as the record is concerned, was falsely accused because the person who accused him has recanted and said I must have mistook him for somebody else. And he's a lawyer, and he wanted this information out because he knew he was innocent, he claims. And as of now, he is innocent. He should be presumed innocent. But he said on the Sean Spicer show, we'll remind you, there's a list. I've seen it. But here's why it's being redacted. Now he's sort of modified that story. We'll tell you that development coming up in a moment.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them. And that's wrong.
All right. So that's Alan Dershowitz on the Sean Spicer show from like a week or so ago. But you'll notice he didn't say list. He just said names of people in files that are being suppressed, right? And now so it's like, oh, so Dershowitz has seen the list. It's like so funny how it's just all semantics, but it's like, where did the idea of a list come up with? And even when people hear words like that, I know people's names in the files, people immediately translate that into a list. But that doesn't mean it's a list. It just means what he said, which is names in files. So here he was. With Chris Cuomo sort of expanding on that. Listen.
Is the government hiding a client list or anything that the Trump administration could release tonight?
No, there is no client list. There never has been a client list. A client list suggests that Jeffrey Epstein made a list of people to whom he trafficked women. What there is a redacted FBI affidavit from accusers. There are several of them. From accusers that accuse Jeffrey, that accuse various people of having improper sex.
That's right. And Dershowitz goes on to say that there are two judges in New York that have suppressed this, these files of these accusers. Because again, and by the way, listen, if accusers want to come out publicly and say something publicly, they can. They could. They just have, but at this point, they're deciding to cover that. And here's the thing. Because these accusers are victims of crimes committed while they were children, they have the right to their privacy. So I guess what Dershowitz is saying here, and again, just so you know, I'm just trying to explain this to y'all. I'm not defending any of this. Dershowitz is saying that a judge has determined it would be improper for an adult, to make an accusation of something that happened to her as a child, something as horrific as this, being able to remain anonymous while making that accusation, and yet then exposing somebody's name, because you can't take that back, right? So if somebody anonymously accused me of pedophilia, and they're allowed to stay anonymous, but my name is now out there. But
your name is,
it's over, especially... Listen, anybody's name connected with Jeffrey Epstein right now, everyone in the world is going to assume guilty until proven innocent, right? You are
and guilty of the worst crimes.
These judges have decided, in their best judgment, it's best not to allow that to happen. Now, you may think that's wrong, and I may not disagree with you, by the way, because when a judge does that, a powerful person does that to protect seemingly rich and powerful people. It may be out of the goodness of their hearts because they believe it would be improper to allow an anonymous accusation of such a horrible crime without any more proof or evidence to back it up, or they may be doing it because they're trying to protect those professional, those powerful people. We don't know that. We just know that that's what they're doing.
Well, but in that vacuum of a lack of...
Real fast, Patrice, that said, that would have been a great thing for Attorney General Pam Bondi to say when she's sitting on the Hannity show 3 months ago, but she didn't. Instead, she said, yes, that's right, I've got the files, and I'm going to be looking at them, and we're going to release them all. It's like, wait, what? So people are frustrated because Pam Bondi seems to enjoy doing primetime Hannity appearances to say what she thinks people want to hear instead of actually just staying in her office and doing her job.
Well, to button up on what Alan Dershowitz has said and what he's kind of clarified, he put out a Wall Street Journal opinion piece yesterday saying the headline, "The Inside Scoop on Jeffrey Epstein. I was his lawyer. I know things that court orders won't allow me to disclose." And let me just read just a couple key points here. He said the FBI interviewed alleged victims who named several clients. These names have been redacted. They should be disclosed, but the courts have ordered them sealed. I know who they are. They don't include any current office holders. I think that would include President Trump. We don't know whether the accusations are true. And then he goes down to specifically talk about President Trump. He says open records show an acquaintance between Epstein and Mr. Trump many years ago. again, public knowledge. But that relationship ended when Mr. Trump reportedly banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago long before becoming president. I have seen nothing that would suggest anything improper or even questionable by Mr. Trump. I mean, I think this piece is really interesting where he clarifies, he gets into the video evidence around the hidden cameras in Epstein's guest bedrooms don't exist. He gets into a lot of different things where he's dispelling a lot of the conspiracy theories that have been able to run rampant in the vacuum of a lack of transparency. So I do think that there's a difference between release the list. Okay, there's no list. What can you release, and what information can you explain to the American public to dispel these myths? Otherwise, people are going to make some serious money continuing to talk about the Epstein files.
More serious money, because again, a lot of people have made serious money claiming they have this secret, unrevealed truth that only they know, and that, that's the sad and disheartening thing about the new media. I love the new media. I've come up through the new media. I love it, but I've worked in traditional media as well, as traditional as talk radio may be. There are different standards. There are different rules. There is quality control in a radio broadcast versus what people can get away with on a podcast. It's amazing to me, people who have podcasts and radio shows actually sometimes, what they reserve for their podcast versus what they put on the radio, because they know there is a line. They know there is a line that they can get away with.
And it feeds being salacious. Honestly, it's the salaciousness
and
that
they make
really
a ton of
fuels
money,
this.
And they built the audiences out of it, and it's just, it's disheartening, because I think that the audience then lumps all of us into the same pot, and you shouldn't. And just be discerning, and we'll try to wade through this as we learn it as well, and deliver as much information as we can, and try to keep free of speculation. 624.
All right, coming up, our usual weekly check-in with Cal Thomas, syndicated columnist. He's going to be here to break down what's going on at Harvard. Is a reboot on the agenda? We'll find out. Stay with us. It's O'Connor and Company at 6:30.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:36. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here on a busy Wednesday morning in your nation's capital. Coming up later in the program at 7:05, Daniel Turner, Power the Future, on that energy summit in Pennsylvania. 8:05, Nick Minock, WJLA, on local politics in Northern Virginia. And at 8:35, Chuck Thies will explain exactly what D.C. voters are thinking as they return Trayon White to his spot on the district council. You can't make it up, Patrice Onwuka. Thanks for being here on a Wednesday.
Absolutely. Good to be here, Larry.
And because you're filling in for Julie today, as you've swapped days, you're testifying tomorrow before Congress. That means you get the pleasure, dare I say, the honor of speaking to syndicated columnist, legendary syndicated columnist, Cal Thomas. Good morning, Cal. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. A legend in his own mind. Thank you very much. And welcome, Patrice.
Cal,
Thank you,
listen,
Cal.
I know a lot of people are going to be high-fiving. And listen, the bottom line is it happened, at least we've got one more vote to go, but it looks like NPR and PBS and Corporation for Public Broadcasting, as well as many other odious things that were part of this rescission package that the Trump White House sent back to Congress. They passed a major hurdle last night, and now the final vote will be coming either today or tomorrow, and it looks like it's going to happen. But I got to tell you, I look at this and I think Senate Republicans just sort of failed, frankly, in what is a fundamental role for Republicans, which is we stand for cutting government funding. This was a drop in the bucket, $9 billion, and it's the low-hanging fruit, the easy stuff. And they barely made it through. They had to have J.D. Vance come in to break the tie.
I know. This is the way it always is. And Larry and Patrice, it's like asking Dracula to go on a diet from blood. It's just impossible. He can't do it. I mean, these people pass legislation, give tax breaks to certain people who contribute to their campaigns. Look at the tax code, how long it is. I mean, if you add all the regulations, it's thousands of pages. Nobody understands it. Nobody can read it. That's why we have tax attorneys. So, and you'll remember several years ago when Paul Ryan, then the Speaker of the House, came up with a credible plan to reform, not cut, but reform Social Security and Medicare. The Democrats came up with a commercial showing Ryan lookalike pushing an old lady in a wheelchair over a cliff. I mean, this is not a serious response. So you're right. This is low-hanging fruit. You've got federal subsidies for NPR and PBS, and yet they're on the air all the time begging for more money. And if you send a certain amount, they'll send you a canvas bag or a DVD or something like that. Back when these were created, there was an argument in favor of decent television. But I think they can stand on their own now. They got corporations.
Well, of course they can. But that's my point. I mean, if this should be the easy. I mean, I know this is Washington, D.C. as usual, standard operating procedure, but Republicans, this is their brand. They're supposed to be able to cut things, especially things like NPR. Yeah. I'm sorry, Patrice, jump in here because I'll just keep ranting.
So, well, Cal, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit to Harvard. In full disclosure, I have a sibling who went to Harvard twice, including their divinity school. But, I think we can get into the hearing yesterday. I would just love for you to talk about this idea that's been floated for Harvard to create some a division or an academic center, dedicated to understanding conservatives. I mean, I think that's a cop-out, Cal. Shouldn't they actually hire, increase diversity of viewpoint among the professors rather than just a center? What's your thought?
Absolutely right. It'd be saying like, well, let's see, we're going to study African Americans. We're not going to let them in the school or the classroom or study any of their history. We're going to put them in the back of the bus. We're going to give them a separate but equal building. So if anybody wants to know anything about African American history, they can go to the building. Yeah, this is crazy stuff. And while they have the Hoover Institution at Stanford in California, which is a good thing. I mean, it's turned out great thinkers like Thomas Sowell, among others. I think this is, you're right, it's a cop-out. I think this conservatism ought not to be labeled. It ought to be ideas that work and ideas that failed. Liberalism has failed. Socialism has failed. Conservatism largely has succeeded. That's what ought to be taught in the classrooms.
Your latest column focuses on Harvard University in particular. I love the headline, by the way, Veritas gets a reboot, because Veritas, of course, the Latin motto for Harvard, beautiful crimson. But Veritas, I guess, is in the eye of the beholder. Or are you looking for your Veritas versus someone else's Veritas?
No, I think truth is objective, not subjective. And when he was president of Harvard, as I point out in the column, Nathan Pusey said that the least that should be expected of a Harvard graduate is that he learned to pronounce the name of God without embarrassment. Now God seems to be the embarrassment. I use this line. I spoke at the 350th anniversary of Harvard, and John Chancellor, then known as John Chancellor, introduced me. I mean, the place was just a liberal hotbed. They had Harry Blackman there. They had Walter Cronkite. They had all kinds of people. And I was the token right-winger. I really enjoyed it. It was great.
You have a long history of walking toward the fire like that, Cal, and being the lone voice of reason.
Well, thank you very much. I think I'll get a black mask and ride a white horse and call myself the lone voice of reason. You think that'd make a TV show?
I know I would tune in. All right, Cal. Always good to talk to you, my friend. Enjoy
Thank
yourself.
You guys.
Good to speak with you, Cal.
It is 6:43.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
We've got some Virginia election news. We got Nick Minnock joining us, by the way, at 8:05 from WJLA. First, some fundraising numbers for the second quarter of this year. Winsome Earl Sears, the Republican nominee and current lieutenant governor, announced that she had raised $5.9 million. Not bad, but not nearly what Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat challenger, raised, $10.7 million, almost twice as much money. And I would suspect that a lot of that money is coming from out of state, of course, as
absolutely
liberal interests are looking at this race. to damage Donald Trump and to make a foothold here. Whenever there's a Democrat governor when Donald Trump is in the White House, that's just a thorn in the side of the Republican president, as you know. I'd love that breakdown, by the way. Meanwhile, in the Attorney General's race, Jason Miyares has a very different story. He raised $4.7 million, which is quite a bit for the Attorney General race, but even more so. Wow. That's, by the way, just in the last 30 days he's raised that $4.7 million, as opposed to the quarterly numbers that we just announced for Sears. But not only does he have that $4.7 million in the last 30 days, he has $8.2 million on hand. That's quite a war chest.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, for Jason Miyares. And if this is going to be a race about money, well, it looks like Abigail Spanberger definitely has the edge at the top of the ticket. And Jason Miyares, I mean, short of some miracle for the Democrat challenger, Miyares right now has the upper hand in his race.
I mean, listen, Virginia is an incredibly important state, and Democrats obviously hated that Glenn Youngkin upset their stranglehold on the state after they had a racist, either blackface or KKK mask-wearing governor upseated and removed. We still don't know which, but both are racist, really racist, and so they want to get the seat back, and that's understandable that they're flooding this area with money for Spanberger.
Oh, of course, they protected him, though. He just termed out. Terry McAuliffe, of course, when he ran against Glenn Youngkin, made an ass of himself and declared that parents have no right to say what books their kids are reading in public schools. Glenn Youngkin's been a fine governor, and he would love to see his chosen successor, Winsome Sears, replace him. And as of now, he hasn't been really, really engaged in this race. We'll see if he starts to step things up here and try to help Winsome Sears across the finish line. There are a lot of good political issues that Winsome, and I've noticed her campaign starting to focus on them, like transgender and issues and protecting women in our public institutions in Virginia. That's a soft spot for Abigail Spanberger, and also the sanctuary policies. Abigail Spanberger is doubling down and standing on the side of Gavin Newsom when it comes to illegal immigrant criminals in Virginia. That's a very vulnerable spot for her. Nick Minnock, by the way, again, who is joining us at 8:05, has another story. Apparently, the Loudoun County School Board, some members there, are considering restricting public comment to once a month because they don't want to hear from the people. They don't want to hear from the taxpayers. They don't want to hear from the parents because they know better. We'll deal with that coming up as well. Right now, though, it is 6:52.